Hi everyone, let's talk about Anachrony towering over me here. First of all, I hope that the playthrough is not as long as the filming took. It usually isn't, but wow, this was a big one. This is, an enormous, if you saw anything in the playthrough, even if you just skip through it a bit, this is an enormous game, a million things going on, quite heavy decisions involved in it. I really, really, really enjoy it. But that is, well, it's not really a negative of the game, but it's definitely something to know that this is going to take a lot of time and seriously leave you kind of mentally drained at the end of it, which isn't a bad thing. I like that, but it definitely makes it a game that will get played less. It will be a special occasion when it comes out because, that kind of time investment and wanting to play such a heavy game is a rarer occurrence. But that's no bad thing. It's, games that I've got like Forge War or the other game from Mind Clash, Tricarion, which is always kind of behind me. I don't know if you can ever see it. Yeah, that's falls into a similar category of a bit too long and a bit too heavy to be a more regular occurrence. But I think it's a fantastic design. For a start, the time travel, it's not a huge part of the game, although I suppose it could be if you leveraged it a bit more. But I do like the concept and the story behind it all as well, that we can ask for this stuff in the future and that it gets sent back to us when we need it. But we need to fulfill these things, otherwise we are going to break the space-time continuum. Even though the punishment for that is only 2 points at the end of the game, although I suppose you've left yourself at risk of paradoxes the whole game through, because you will have to keep rolling the entire game to mitigate the things that you aren't paying off. But yeah, it's got so much variability to it. The different buildings that can come out, the super projects, the end game conditions that give you scoring, on top of the faction that you've chosen. Each faction, it's 4 factions of the game. Each one has got 2 different evacuation conditions. Everyone has got 2 different leaders with different powers. And then you can play the base game. I haven't even touched the other modules, the Doomsday module, and there's something else, and then there's more modules available with the miniatures pack. I haven't even scratched the surface of that. There is so much in the base game that I'm still kind of, trying to work out and see all of the different things that are going on in it. Because I think in our games we tend not to leverage the time travel that much. In the beginning, definitely. In the first round, absolutely, we'll probably do 2. And maybe a couple of rounds after that. But then once we have gotten our things going, we tend to just ignore it and try and pay off what we have to stop the anomalies coming in, and then kind of just leave it alone. But having that part of your player board, I'm not going to risk picking up a player board, having the part where you are getting rewarded, not for having these things, but for having these things and then going to the effort of making a power plant, essentially a time machine, and going back to pay the things off, is going to earn you a lot of points. And sometimes there is an endgame bonus card that is be the furthest along on their time travel track and have the most points on there. So I think there will be cases, if you do it right, where you can really, really leverage that if you get the right buildings and things. Because some, like this one, it's going to let you go back 3. It takes a uranium to activate, but it's going to get you a point every time as well. So it makes it even more attractive. There are so many of these little things. This one lets you go back any amount, but you have to pay more the further back you go, but you get that many points depending on how many things you went back. There's so many little twists in this that will really change it up and just generate all of these different strategies, because the game is so complex and because it has 1,000,001 things going on, it generates that many different strategies as well. So the production, as I mentioned, Tricarion was Mind Clash's first game, and that was absolutely beautiful. It was part of the reason that I backed that in the first place, that it's just ridiculously lavishly produced, and here is no exception either. I haven't got the miniatures edition, but I saw it at the UK Games Expo and saw it in videos as well, but saw it in person. They are beautiful, they're enormous. You slot your little workers into the top of their mech suits. It looks fantastic. Maybe one day I'll get hold of that. But the game itself, without all of that, it is perfectly great as it is. It comes with little cardboard chits to replace the little tokens if you want to differentiate the colour a bit more, but also for colourblind people, they have different symbols on each one, different kind of markings that will help with colourblind players as well. They'll be able to tell the difference between similar colours. So really, I think that's about what I've got to say. I really, really enjoy this game. I really like the concept of it. You know, everything's falling apart. This meteor's going to hit at some point, which can be variable based on the game modes. And then once that happens, the city is going to start falling apart. We don't really know how much time we've got, but when the time's up, we will end up desperately trying to evacuate. You don't want to be the last person and get hit with a penalty, but you don't want to rush and do it before you have leveraged your maximum bonus from your evac condition. You know, that's another thing to think about, but it all really does, I think, fit the story that is presented to you in the rules as well. Everything does feel like we are going towards this tumultuous thing, and we need to. It's a desperate race against time to do what we can. You know, these tiles, these last-ditch tiles, really go towards that as well. But the whole feeling of, yeah, it would be nice. I would love time travel to happen in more games. I understand why it doesn't happen, because as soon as you try and introduce time travel into things, it starts really making things complex and is really, really easy to mess up. So I think the kind of paradox time loop way of having the resources, it's a really nice way to implement it in this. As I said, the downsides, not really a negative for the game, but be prepared to spend a long time and for it to quite easily wear your mental faculties out. But I think it's very rewarding while it's doing that as well. And yeah, beautiful to look at. A million different strategies, lots of variability. That's Anachrony. So thanks a lot for watching, everyone, and I'll see you for the next game. Bye.